Okay, think about this. What if the absolute wildest science fiction plot twist you've ever heard, or maybe the most out there conspiracy theory, what if it isn't actually that far-fetched? Seriously, what if some discoveries, the ones that make you go, no way, are actually backed by, real peer-reviewed science? Welcome to the cool, weird, and possible.
Hi, everyone. Today, we're jumping headfirst into some really mind-bending scientific findings. We're going to be looking at actual research, real discoveries that honestly sound like they're straight out of a movie script or maybe something you chat about late at night, right? The mission today is basically to untangle these amazing threads and ask, okay, are these genuinely groundbreaking truths? Or is science just pushing the absolute edge of reality in ways we're only just starting to figure out? And it's really important to remember as we go through this stuff, these aren't just like fantasies. These are real findings, often published in top scientific journals, even when they sound completely like fiction. So let's kick things off way out there in the cosmos. Something impossibly huge, Porphyrion. Heard of it? This isn't your average black hole. It's a pair of black hole jets, and get this, they stretch 23 million light years across space. It's that. It's like lining up 140 Milky Way galaxies end to end, just massive. And this thing is just spewing matter out at almost the speed of light. It really makes you kind of rethink scale, doesn't it?
It absolutely does. And if that scale is enough to make your head spin, what about tiny black holes? Primordial ones. So scientists theorize these things, formed way back near the Big Bang, might still be around, and some of the, well, more out there ideas suggest they could be incredibly small, maybe small enough to zip through planets, or even like through our own bodies, through buildings, leaving just these microscopic little traces. Could that be the missing dark matter everyone's looking for? It's wild.
Yeah, wild is the word. And that idea, something invisible and powerful moving through space, it kind of links to another big search, doesn't it? The hunt for Dyson spheres, right? These are those hypothetical megastructures that a super advanced civilization might build around a star, like a giant solar panel, basically, capturing all its energy. And NASA actually looked into this. They analyzed, over 5 million stars?
Yeah.
And found about 60 that had this really weird infrared radiation signature. Something that's hard to explain just by natural stuff. Makes you wonder, wait, how would we even spot them if they were out there?
Totally. And speaking of weird light signatures, you have to talk about Tabby's star. That's the famous one, right? NASA flagged it because its light dims so erratically, and by a lot sometimes, like up to 22%. Way too much for just a planet swinging by or even a big comet. So what is it? Is it just a really chaotic dust cloud? Or, okay, leading into the weird zone here, could it be something artificial? Some massive construction project blocking the light now and then, like someone flicking a giant cosmic flashlight?
It's a persistent mystery. And then there was Oumuamua. Remember that? The first interstellar object we ever saw passing through our solar system caused a huge stir, partly because of its shape, that weird cigar shape, but even more, its acceleration. It sped up, but not because of gravity and not like a comet venting gas. Something else was pushing it. The leading theory involves frozen hydrogen, I think, reacting to sunlight. But it was so strange. There's actually a proposed mission, Project Lyra, to send a probe to try and catch up with it. Imagine that.
What's truly striking about all these examples, from galaxy-sized jets to maybe alien megastructures, is how they force us to confront the limits of our current understanding. They really push the boundaries of what we thought was possible in the universe. It underlines the sheer scale, the vastness, and frankly, the unknown potential out there. It's a clear signal that the cosmos is far stranger and maybe more wonderful than we'd previously conceived.
Okay, let's bring it back down to Earth, maybe even inside ourselves. We're moving from the impossibly big to the incredibly intricate workings of life, and how science is kind of redefining it. Did you know there's actual real-world research happening right now on regenerating body parts? Scientists are using something called an extracellular matrix, or ECM. It's derived from pig ladders, actually. And this ECM acts like a biological scaffold. It gives human cells a sort of blueprint to regenerate damaged tissue. There have been some amazing results. That case of the horse trainer who regrew a fingertip, that used this. And it's also been used to help restore significant muscle mass in injured military veterans. It sounds like science fiction, but it's happening.
It really does sound like something from a movie, doesn't it? But, with anything this revolutionary, there's always debate. There's a skeptical side. People ask, are these really miraculous regrowths? Like truly rebuilding something that was completely gone? Or is it more like super advanced healing? Taking the body's normal repair processes and just, turbocharging them. It's an interesting line, is that regeneration versus just really good repair? How much is brand new?
It's a valid question. Okay, moving from human bits to something maybe even weirder. Goats that spin silk. No, seriously. Scientists at Utah State University genetically engineered goats so that they produce spider silk proteins right in their milk. And this stuff, they call it biosteel. It's actually stronger than Kevlar. Think about the uses. Super strong surgical sutures, maybe bulletproof vests. Who knows? And the clever part is using goats, not spiders. Spiders are apparently really hard to farm. They get territorial. Goats, much easier to scale up production.
Okay, wow. But that leads us straight into all the ethical deep end, doesn't it? It's gene editing. It's specifically CRISPR-Cas9. It's incredible technology, precise, relatively easy to use, not even that expensive apparently, but the power it gives us. Wow. Especially when you talk about altering human germline cells, the ones that pass traits down generations, or editing embryos. That could lead to changes we don't expect, maybe changes we don't want popping up later, and brings up that whole slightly uncomfortable idea of designer babies. We know they've changed fur color in rats using this tech. So who gets to decide what's a desirable trait for humans? Where does that road lead? Are we playing God here?
Yes, these are precisely the critical ethical questions being debated right now very intensely within the scientific community and beyond. A key point is that the potential side effects of using CRISPR on human embryos are, at present, largely unpredictable. Unforeseen genetic alterations might not become apparent for years or even generations. So while there's broad agreement on the immense value of CRISPR for research, like creating models to study human diseases, there is a significant concern and opposition regarding its use for enhancement-altering traits not related to disease. There's a very clear and urgent need for robust global regulations to guide the use of this powerful technology. It's about finding that balance between progress and responsibility.
And it's not just biology we're tinkering with. Look at artificial intelligence. It's moving so fast. You've got humanoid robots now, like Amika from Engineering Arts, powered by generative AI. They can interact almost naturally, make facial expressions that are, well, startlingly convincing, almost uncanny. And then there are AI systems like ChatGPT, creating content, holding conversations.
Yeah.
Some people are even using them as like virtual friends or companions. The lines are definitely blurring.
Right, and that's where it gets, well, a little bit creepy maybe, or at least thought-provoking. As AI gets more and more human-like, what does that mean for us? Are they just tools? Or are we actually developing companions, things that might one day surpass us in ways we haven't even thought of yet? It feels like that line is shifting really, really quickly. Makes you reconsider our own place in the world, doesn't it?
Okay, let's shift again, this time deep underground, to Earth's hidden places and some survivors that are just unbelievable, redefining what life even needs. Ever heard of Moila Cave in Romania? It was sealed off from the surface for, get this, 5.5 million years. Inside it's warm, filled with methane and carbon dioxide, very little oxygen, and life thrives there, completely without sunlight. They use chemosynthesis, getting energy for chemical reactions. It's a totally unique food web, an entire ecosystem running in absolute darkness, isolated for millions of years. And that's not the only hidden world. Under the ice in Antarctica, scientists are finding life too. Not just microbes. They found algae, moss, even unknown little animals living in warm pockets beneath the ice sheets. And under the Ross Ice Shelf, they found a whole hidden river system underground. And it was teeming with life. Tiny shrimp-like creatures called amphipods, a whole active ecosystem miles below the ice. It just makes you wonder what else is down there.
It's absolutely mind-blowing. And then you get the really tough ones, the practically immortal rotifers, microscopic critters. They found some frozen in Siberian permafrost for 24,000 years. 24,000! And they thawed them out and they just started reproducing again. Like nothing happened. Apparently they could probably survive hundreds of thousands of years frozen. But that's not all. They're super resistant to radiation, can survive with no oxygen, no water, no food for ages, handle high acidity. Are they the ultimate survivors? Or just, really good at taking long naps?
Deep sleep champions.
Yeah.
And they're not alone in the extreme survival club. Tardigrades, water bears, tiny little 8-legged things, absolute legends of resilience. They can handle temperatures from near absolute zero up to boiling. Crazy radiation levels. Pressure 6 times deeper than the deepest ocean trench. Even the vacuum of space. They do it by going into this state called cryptobiosis, basically just pausing life. And on a bigger scale, there's the ironclad beetle. Found in the U.S., southwest Mexico. Its exoskeleton is so tough you literally need a drill or a hammer to get through it. Nature's tanks.
Wow. Okay, so life finds a way, even in the craziest places. But our planet holds older mysteries too, right? Stuff that blurs history and legend, like that underwater structure they found in Grand Tourist Bay in Michigan. They think it's 9,000 years old, older than Stonehenge. And it has an etching of a mastodon on it, an animal that died out like 11,000 years ago. How? And then there's that story, The Green Children of Woolpit, from 12th century England. A boy and girl show up, green skin, speaking a language nobody knew, only eating green beans. Sounds totally bizarre, right? Like a fairy tale.
It does sound like folklore, absolutely. But what's interesting with stories like The Green Children is how science can sometimes offer plausible, if less magical, explanations. The leading theory for them is actually quite grounded. It suggests they were likely Flemish immigrant children, possibly suffering from severe malnutrition, maybe hypochromic anemia, perhaps from an extremely restricted diet like just green beans, which can give the skin a greenish tint, and their unknown language. That would simply have been their native Flemish dialect, unfamiliar to the English villagers. It demystifies it, but it's still a fascinating historical puzzle solved through deduction.
Okay, that makes sense, even if it's less fantastical. And speaking of historical puzzles, King Tut, his tomb, his mask. Still so many questions. There's that theory that his famous golden mask wasn't even made for him originally. Maybe for Queen Nefertiti. They found an altered inscription under his name, apparently. And the mask has pierced ears. Tut probably wouldn't have worn earrings as an adult pharaoh. Plus, the idea that his successor, Pharaoh I, might have deliberately stuck Tut in a smaller, less grand tomb, and then tried to basically erase him from history. Was it just politics,
Yeah.
power grab, or something else going on there? Egypt always keeps you guessing.
It really does. And, pulling all these threads together, from cosmic giants and maybe alien tech to regenerating fingers and silk-spinning goats to life under ice caps and ancient mysteries, it just shows how the line between what we used to think of as pure science fiction and what's actually real, scientifically verified fact.
Well, that line keeps getting blurrier, doesn't it? It absolutely does. And that's the beauty of science, isn't it? It thrives on these surprises. It constantly challenges our assumptions about what's possible. Things that seem completely impossible today might just be waiting for the right discovery, the right technology, or just the right shift in understanding to become tomorrow's reality. The universe and life itself seems to have endless capacity for the unexpected.
So as science keeps pushing these boundaries, keeps revealing more of the cool, the weird, and the, well, possible. Here's something to think about. What crazy idea from today's fiction do you think might actually become real in the future? And maybe more importantly, how do we as a society get ready for a world that just keeps getting stranger, more amazing, and filled with possibilities we never dreamed of?
Thank you so much for joining us on this deep dive into the truly astounding and sometimes just plain weird. If you enjoyed exploring the edges of reality with us, please subscribe to Cool, Weird, and Possible wherever you get your podcasts. We'll catch you next time.